Hello friends, and Friends is a 1971 romantic film which Elton and Bernie wrote the music for. It was a film that was produced by Lewis Gilbert, who was actually quite a famous film producer, having worked on Alfie, the classic film with Michael Caine, and 3 of the James Bond films. Now, Lewis Gilbert's son John had heard the Elton John album and approached the duo to write the music for this film. If you want to look up this film, if you go to Internet Movie Database, put in Friends, and it doesn't find this film, at least it didn't for me. But if you go in through Lewis Gilbert, you will find a link to this film, which is reasonably reviewed actually. It gets 6.5 out of 10, which isn't bad for IMDb. Now, where does this film soundtrack actually fit in? Well, Elton completed the sublime Tumbleweed Connection by the end of 1970. And we now have this album, his 4th album release, and we have it followed in 1971 by the Elton John live album, this one here. Now, through reading up on this, apparently Elton didn't enjoy the process of writing for film. He didn't like the sort of mathematical side of it, having to sort of write to very tight time schedules. And the first session of the recording for this apparently didn't produce anything at all. It was the second session where they actually started to lay down some tracks. Now, the album didn't chart in the UK at all as either an album or as a single. However, it was nominated for Best Original Score at the Grammys in 1972. So clearly some people were impressed with this. It was produced by Gus Dudgeon, familiar figure in Elton's later life, of course. And we've got some members of the Elton John band appearing on some of the tracks. So we've got Nigel Olsson on drums, Dee Murray bass, Caleb Quay on guitars. So they played on a lot of albums subsequent to this. Now, the film itself is about an English boy who meets an orphaned French girl. So a lot of the action takes place in France. I haven't seen the film, I'm afraid, but it is available on some subscription services, so it might be worth a watch. One of the people starring in it, I did notice, is Joan Hickson, actress, of course, famous for playing Miss Marple in her later career. Now, one nice little nugget, which Bernie admits to on the Rare Master CD, is that he never actually read the script to the film. He kind of flicked through it. He got an overall impression of the story and then laid down some lyrics. So pretty clever going there, Bernie. Now, just to say, you can find all the music from the film on the Rare Masters double CD, irritatingly in a slightly different track order to on the original vinyl. Not quite sure why that is. Another slight disappointment is I do have the original vinyl here. When you slip out the inside, you get this. Nothing. There's no liner notes at all. Now, whether that's my fault or the particular copy I bought, I don't know. But if you're out there and you've got some liner notes inside, I'd be very interested to hear from you. So on the back of the album there, we get the track listing. We get it kind of presented a little bit like a film poster. There's some interesting information down here, but that's about it. Now, the whole thing is a little bit of a mishmash because Elton actually only wrote 3 original songs for the soundtrack. And as we'll come across in a minute, they're actually really good quality songs. 2 more tracks were added that were actually intended for the Madman Across the Water album. And we'll discuss whether they are that appropriate to this particular film. And the rest of it is kind of filled in by Paul Buckmaster, who does some quite clever arrangements on the themes written by Elton. Now, another notable thing about the album is that the 3 backing singers on this, Madeline Bell, Lisa Strike and Leslie Duncan, who, as we know, played a key role in the Tumbleweed Connection album with her beautiful love song. So we open with Friends, the title track. This follows the 2 main characters, Paul and Michelle, who are falling in love. There's a strong vocal and piano on this from Elton. Very enjoyable verse and refrain. You know, it fits together really nicely as a song, this one. It sets the right mood for a gentle love story. We've got a message of friendship. At this stage, they're not lovers, they're friends. And these being fragile times. So a delicate lyric from Bernie as well. The orchestration is mainly okay. Perhaps the brass is a little bit intrusive, but overall I'm going to rate this as a very good song. Give it 7. Now, the second track is an interesting one. This is one of the ones that was added in, intended for Madman. This is called Honey Roll. It's a joyful up-tempo number, and Elton has apparently said it was a tribute to Fats Domino. We've got honky-tonk piano coming in for the verse, and the band comes in. We've got words like "I'm your funky monkey" from Bernie. So it's clearly a fun track. Come on, do the roll with me, whatever that might be. The lyrics are fairly meaningless on this one, and it's about getting together with your honey. There's a decent sax break in there which gives it some bite. It's a reasonable listen. Nothing special for me there. I'm not sure what it would have added to the Madman CD either, the Madman album certainly, maybe as a bonus track. But would it have fitted the mood with those other tracks on that? I'm not so sure. I'm going to say it's average for me and give it 4. So track 3 is variations on the Friends theme. It's just a short bit here, an introduction and a coda by Paul Buckmaster. We've got the flute prominent here, we've got some guitar or possibly harp. String music is coming in quite a lush sort of way, a nice bit of oboe. So it's not really a separate track, this one, but I'm going to say it's a fairly good listen, give it 5. So the fourth track is called Theme, brackets the first kiss, stroke seasons. Now what we have here is a lovely oboe opening with a kind of dreamy and ethereal orchestration and a lush atmosphere created presumably by Paul Buckmaster. It blends into Seasons, which is, according to Elizabeth Rosenthal in her book, calls it a charming ballad. This is when Paul and Michelle become lovers. Elton's voice doesn't come in till about 2 minutes through this song. He sings with the orchestra. It's an absolutely beautiful melody, this one, about the changing seasons. I'm so warm with you. He portrays an idyllic life with a loved one. Rather than a whole song, it's more of a fragment, this one, in a way. But I would certainly like to see this developed into a much longer song because it's a beautiful musical idea, this one. I would compare it with something like The Greatest Discovery from the Elton John album. Definitely worth a listen. I rate it very good, 7. We then have variations on Michelle's song, which of course we haven't met yet. That's on the later part of the album. Brackets, A Day in the Country. Paul Buckmaster at work here. Some nice solo flute, some strings coming in. It's more of a background music piece than something you're going to sit down and listen to. And kind of a bit of an album filler, this. You'd have heard it just in the background while the film plays. The melody is taken by brass and oboe. It's average for me. I'm going to give it 4. Now, track 6 is Can I Put You On? This is a long track, which again was intended for Madman Across the Water, and they kind of brought it forward for this one. It appears as a live version on this well-known concert album. We've got Elton, Nigel and Dee mainly taking the musical honours here. Now, this is a rock number. There's rock piano on this. And rock guitar as well, with a bit of echo in there. Some interesting effects going on, a bit of echo on the vocal. What's it all mean? Well, it seems to be about a working man in Birmingham and his sort of day-to-day toil. And then a strange man comes round selling things, and his shout is, "Can I put you on?" That's his song. Not quite sure what that phrase means. You may have an idea. Maybe this is something that Bernie actually experiences some way. Perhaps there was a travelling salesperson coming round and shouting this. Anyway, it's an average rocker, slightly kind of country feel to it. A bit of decent guitar work on the sort of outro for it. Maybe a little bit overlong. The kind of mood of it seems to just echo Country Comfort for me from the Tumbleweed album, which of course is a very good track. So I'm going to rate this as fairly good, 5. Track number 7 is Michelle's Song. Now we have images in here of the Camargue, which is an area in the south of France, and this is where Paul and Michelle flee by train, so get away from it all. We've got a delicious piano intro on this one. The orchestra then blends in. They're soothing and lovely. We've got some lovely images of France. It's a delicate lyric from Bernie. We were meant to be together. It's great to be alive. This is a beautiful melody. It's simple, but it's effective. The lyric matches perfectly as well. Lovely harmonies going on. I would say this is early evidence, if we needed it, of highly skilled songwriting and a great partnership between Elton and Bernie. You could argue it's over orchestrated slightly. I think this would work as a lovely solo piece by Elton at the piano. I think I had this in one of my top lists for Elton songs, or something I would like to hear him sing live again. It's on the level, and it reminds me slightly of Skyline Pigeon from the Empty Sky album, which of course is another beautiful song. So definitely please listen to this if you don't know it. Michelle's song, I'm going to say it's excellent. 8 for me. Next track is a curiosity. It's I meant to do my work today, brackets a day in the country. And what we have here is the characters reciting a poem by Richard Le Gallienne over some soothing orchestral music, presumably from Paul Buckmaster. Now, not much to say about this other than the fact that Richard Le Gallienne, when I looked him up, was an interesting poet. He was an English writer who died in France in 1947. One-time partner of Oscar Wilde, and he also met Rupert Brooke during his life as well. So some interesting little facts about this. You're probably not going to listen to this again very much. I'm going to say average for me, it's 4. We then have a piece called Four Moods, which is all by Paul Buckmaster. He's created a pleasant soundscape here. This is more background music for the film. Some of it sounds a little bit like 60 Years On to me, some influences of that possibly, and he blends in different themes from different songs in this. It's okay to listen to in the background. I think you'd be hard pushed to sit down and listen to it intently and concentrate on it, but it's still interesting. Average from me, another 4. And the album closes with a reprise of Seasons, just under 2 minutes. Elton sings with the orchestra. Is this any different from its previous version on the album? I'm not sure it's that different really. So I'm not going to give it a separate rating because I've also already rated this song, which I enjoyed very much. So of the songs that I've rated on there, we've got a total of 48 marks for 9 tracks rated, giving an average of 5.33 marks per track. Now, should you buy this album? Well, if you're an Elton John completist, why not? If you just like some of his songs, I would certainly seek out those 3 key songs, Friends, Michelle's Song and Seasons, as lovely examples. So they're romantic songs, and we've also got Can I Put You On there, and we've got Honey Roll, which are also ones worth listening to. So you've got 5 songs on this album, which are certainly worth listening to. And Paul Buckmaster's skills as an orchestrator also mean, it's a pleasant listen. So let's now have a look and see how these songs fit into my spreadsheet. And we have got one song which is coming in with 8 marks out of 10. There it is, Michelle's Song, currently 74th place. But those 8s are not ranked, they're just in the order that I've reviewed them. We've got a couple of 7s on this album as well that I've mentioned before. There they are, Friends and Seasons. Now we've got 430 songs ranked now. Nothing at the bottom here from this film soundtrack. Still poor old Solar Prestige and Passengers down at the bottom with 0. Let's see now where this album fits in to all of my reviews of Elton's albums. And it comes out pretty well in a way. It's down here at number 22, the Friends soundtrack, just below The Big Picture and just above Ice on Fire, probably for its consistency of tracks. So what do you make of this early film soundtrack? It's a bit of a collector's item, and I'm really glad I got hold of the vinyl when I did quite some time ago. Let me know what you think. What's your favourite track on here? And is this something you'd actually like to buy? I'll be back with more reviews soon. Farewell, and don't forget, we're still standing.